So this is video number 4. I'm sorry these are running longer than I want them to. It's just what it is. Carbohydrates is clearly the thing. Carbohydrates are clearly the macronutrient you have to worry about. When it comes to fat and protein, I know this is may not be what you've read on the internet. You don't want any fat before you exercise, during exercise, and frankly, you don't want to eat a lot of fat after. Salted nuts and things like that are probably perfectly fine, if not in great amount. If your concern is getting carbohydrates in and stored, quickly digested and used during, and in and stored after, fat just gets in the way. That's number one. Number two, you don't burn dietary fat. You burn body fat. So eating a lot of fat before a meal or during exercise, it makes no sense. Yes, they sell supplements that have medium chain triglycerides. No, I'm not going to talk about those because I don't want to. Because I don't want to. There's just no role for fat in activity. Enjoy healthy fat well before you exercise, well after you exercise. It's just not involved during. It does take about 20 minutes to initiate the body fat release. So if you get on a treadmill and you start walking on a treadmill, what you're actually burning for the first 20 minutes typically is glucose from glycogen in the muscle and fatty acid released from fat deposits in the muscle. Once epinephrine releases, remember epinephrine, then body fat, hormone sensitive lipase can be turned up. You can start dumping fat into the bloodstream to be sucked up like spaghetti noodles by muscles, and you can start releasing glucose from the liver to be used for fuel by everybody else too. So, fat, ignore it during activity. Protein, ignore it really during activity. You don't build anything when you're exercising. You go to the gym and you lift weights. You are trashing your body. That's the plan. Trash it, go home for 2 days, rebuild it, and rebuild it slightly bigger, as in get bigger muscles, add your muscle mass. I know people take protein shakes and things while they exercise. If you're just lifting weights, of course you can sip on a protein drink because there's no big impact on the body. You're not huffing and puffing, going from squat bar to doing your curls, doing your triceps. But realize the protein shake you're sipping on in the gym is not for working out at that time in the gym. It's you're trying to get amino acids in the blood, packing up your pool as high as possible. So when recovery takes place in the next 24 to 48 hours, you have enough amino acids available for maximum recovery. You obviously don't want to be eating steak while you're running a marathon. Like fat, protein and fat take a long time to digest. They get in the way of getting carbohydrates in before, during, and after. I'm sorry, enjoy that chicken sandwich well after you work out. Okay, do you need more protein? We covered this a little bit in the protein chapter. Of course you do. Of course you do. Athletes need more. They have greater turnover. Endurance athletes need about 50% more. Strength athletes need almost double. The only caveat or the only issue we see with this, and by the way, this is a really old slide. It's probably like 15. It's probably almost 20 years old, this graphic. It doesn't matter. It hasn't changed. We all eat in America a ton of protein. Yes, you need more, not as much as you think, because you eat so much. And that's what it comes down to. Eating protein for the sake of protein is just eating extra calories. And that's what it is. Okay, so electrolytes, fluid intake. Remember, carbohydrates are super important. But if you run out of them, you get tired, exhausted, you sit down. You run out of water, you're dead. So you have to hydrate. When? Before, during, and after. How much should you hydrate? That gets into all sorts of crazy calculations based on activity level, temperature outside, how dry is it, what's your altitude. The best rule of thumb, what does your urine look like? If you show up at a 10K, you ought to have to pee, honestly. You should be that hydrated, and it should be very clear yellow, pale yellow. That's your key. You should never get your urine dark. So sip as much as you can, drink as much as you can so you're not ever getting into the dark colored urine. Start drinking fluid early as much as you can and sip. You don't need to intake in large amounts. It actually can cause you to vomit. Do you need a sports drink? 45 minutes is typically the key. If it's longer than 45 minutes, we recommend a sports drink because it has sugar. That said, you could consume water and pickles and saltine crackers. It's basically a sports drink, right? So then why do we recommend sports drinks? They taste good. They promote consumption. Kids and humans want to drink them. They drink them in my classes, taking notes. Do they need them? No. If it's under 45 minutes, water is perfectly fine. If you're going to a gym and it's not too hot, water is perfectly fine. Again, sports drinks, if you look at the math or look at the science, there's no advantage of using them. Well, there is an advantage. They taste really good. But you could use bananas. You could eat bananas, pickles, and water, and that would be fine too. But it's not as fun as having a sports drink. Can you overhydrate? Yes, you can. If you're consuming too much fluid and it's really hot out, so you're sweating out salt, you're peeing out salt, you get yourself into what's called hyponatremia, low blood sodium. In most people, that causes cramping. You should know to stop what you're doing. Not just hydrate, eat something salty. They literally sell pickle juice to prevent this. They really do. If you don't treat this properly and continue to hydrate, you can kill yourself. People have been known to die from hyponatremia. Okay, poor choices. Is caffeine a poor choice? I don't know that that's a true statement. In small doses, it is considered an ergonomic aid. It increases psychological arousal, so you're more alert, you're more ready to exercise. Caffeine does motivate the ability to break down fat in the body, kind of like epinephrine. The problem with caffeine, though, is you can develop tolerance, so you need a lot of it. It is a diuretic. You get more fluid from coffee than you pee, but you may eventually have to pee. Where do you pee on a marathon? Exactly. It can make you jittery. It can cause upset stomach, etc. So it depends. Alcohol, without question, is not a good alcoholic beverage, a beverage to have for sports. It plays around with your thermal regulation. It is also a diuretic. If you're doing something dangerous like cycling or anything that in football, basketball, you don't want to play those sports drunk. You can get in bad shape and have a bad injury. Caffeine, though, is one where athletes are very smart about it. They may bring a tall coffee to the gym and sip, and to kind of get some of that ergonomic advantage of the caffeine. Okay. So what is the advantage of a sports drink, let's say, over juice? Juices may have too much sugar. Yes, too much sugar. You put that in your GI tract in great volume, it can cause diarrhea. It can. Juices have very little electrolytes. They don't have a lot of sodium. They may have a lot of potassium, but they don't have a lot of sodium. So with sports drink, you get the sodium that you're sweating out, you get the potassium, and you get a very smart volume of carbohydrate. Just enough to keep the system going. So, again, if it's longer than 30 to 45 minutes, sports drink is a way to go. Otherwise, water's fine. It's perfectly fine. And this talks about your urine, talks about if you get dehydrated, you can have impaired performance well before there's thirst. Well before there's thirst. When you're thirsty, you're already really dehydrated. Prevent it. Sip a lot, sip often, and look at that urine color. Here we go, right? Optimal. I have been hiking in some bad situations in Utah when my urine was looking really bad, and I hope I didn't hurt myself. The rule of thumb for cycling and hiking, bring more, because you can do this when you're cycling and hiking, bring more juice and sports drink or water than you need. Better that you bring it and don't use it than need it. And I've been there. And the family has now 4 hydro flasks for our backpacks. Doesn't matter. We fill them up even if we're going on little rinky-dinky hikes. What if somebody becomes injured and we're trying to drag them a mile back to our car? It's not worth it. Bring fluid. And then lastly, what's a good pregame meal? Mostly carbs, very little protein and fat. This is a perfect pregame meal. During, we know it's going to be carbohydrate. You're going to sip it. You're going to nibble on it. You're going to start early and you're going to be consistent. Post-game, mostly carbs, maybe a little bit of protein. Save the fat for later. You're trying to use the window, right? Use the window. The more protein and fat you consume right after, the harder it is to digest carbohydrate because that stuff just gets in the way. And here's a table on good sources of carbs, and it's 10 minutes, and this is way too long. Sorry.